Okay, so this is going to be my review on Monster Hunter Wilds. I have a little over about 100 hours or so into the game. I've finished everything. I've killed every monster. I have pretty much every set that I can want. I have pretty much every decoration I could want. And so this is going to be my review. This is a disclaimer. My opinion doesn't matter, right? My opinion, just if you are looking to play this game or not play this game, you can hear my opinion and take it with a grain of salt, right? Because it's my experience with it. Some other people have had very different experiences with the game, and that's okay. This is going to be my experience. So just disclaimer is that my opinion really doesn't matter. I'm just putting it out there for anybody that would like to use it as a way to decide if they want to play the game or not play the game. So the first thing that a lot of people need, I think the first thing that should be addressed, right, is the performance of the game. A lot of people have had performance issues. Now, me personally, I do not have a great computer, right? I have a 3070 with a pretty mid, processor and motherboard. Um, and I've had zero issues. I haven't had any, frame drops. I haven't had any problems with with graphics or particles or anything. Any types of graphical bugs. I've run into zero problems. I can't even I don't even truly know what a lot of the problems people are facing because I haven't faced them at all. So that's just me. I'm probably one of the very few lucky people that have experienced that in this game, and I understand that. So for me though, the performance isn't an issue. I understand that it could be for some other people, but for me personally, it hasn't been. No, number two, the story. Now I have to be honest. I am not a story driven person when it comes to games. I've never finished a game and been like, I didn't like that game. It's going to get a lower rating for me because the story was bad. I don't care about the story enough in any game, even story games. But I will say the story in this game is pretty generic, right? So I did listen to it. I did watch everything and paid attention. It just wasn't very good. Now, no story in Monster Hunter is really that good. Let's be honest, right? You're not gonna play Monster Hunter for the story. That's just kind of the truth. But if you are looking for a story game, Monster Hunter Wilds isn't going to be it. The story is on the weaker side. But for me, that's not really a minus on anything because, like I said, it doesn't really matter to me. Number two, or number three, I'm going to go over the armor designs. A lot of people complained from past games that the armor designs were kind of bland. They weren't super unique from monster to monster, and whatnot. They have completely changed that. I think that this is the coolest armor sets that we've seen in Monster Hunter since I've been playing. Um, I think the armor sets are absolutely insane. They're so cool. The transmog is so cool. There are some people that have made absolutely insane looking armor sets with the different pieces, and it's just one of those things where if you're really into the fashion part of the game, there are so many options to make your character look super, super cool. The only downside is that you can't change the appearance of your weapon. So if you're like most weapons and you have to use an Ardian weapon, they don't really match any of the sets. So you're kind of just stuck with the way that the Ardian weapons look. And the Ardian weapons are pretty hit or miss in my opinion. They're not the coolest, but they're not absolutely terrible. So I'd give like the appearance section of the game, I'd give it an A minus or a B plus just based on that. Next is weapon design. I thought so coming from the beta, I thought all of the weapons were designed super super well. I thought all of the combos were super well or super well designed. I thought they were all super fun. I thought the weapon design was just really, really good in my opinion. As we've started playing the game and gotten deeper into the end game and kind of the meta has started to develop, specifically around the corrupted mantle, it has made every weapon that can take advantage of the corrupted mantle, which is all of them, basically play a super watered down version of their weapon because of the way that the corrupted mantle works with the basic attacks of the weapons, and that you get double attacks. So, you play a very basic and easy watered down version of pretty much every single weapon, and I think that is ultimately a problem. I think it makes it really fun, for some people if you're looking to super optimize your game. But I think if you're, but I think that super optimizing your game, but with, interesting combos is a lot more fun than optimizing your game with super easy combos, right? Now, if you're not using the corrupted mantle, it's not an issue. Or if you don't want to, super min max your corrupting mantle, it's also not an issue. For me, that's how I like to play games. I know that I'm probably in the minority when it comes to a game like this. In most games, that kind of my only thing that I enjoy doing is making my guy have the literal best piece of gear for every single piece that he can have, and also playing the game in the most optimal way. That's what I enjoy doing. Even if I'm not very good at the game, that's still how I have fun in the game personally. So for me, it does bring it down a few points that pretty much every weapon has a kind of watered down combo of what the optimal way to play is because of the corrupted mantle. But overall, I'd say weapon design is good if they fix that. As far as monster design goes, I think that a couple of these monsters are some of the most fun monsters I've ever played against. I think the last monster in the story, Zoshia, is one of the coolest monster. I think it's one of the coolest looking monsters I've ever fought against, and it's one of the funnest fights I've ever played. And also Arkveld is one of my favorite monsters I've ever fought. Now I absolutely hate him. We have a crazy love-hate relationship, but I think that Arkveld is one of the coolest monster fights in the franchise. I'm not super impressed with Jin Dahad personally, but that's okay. I think all of the monsters as a whole are really, really good. I know a lot of people have complained about it being too easy. I didn't really feel that. I didn't think that it was all that easier than a lot of the other monsters, like specifically like the low rank monsters. I didn't think a lot of the low rank monsters were that much easier than anything else. I've always thought low rank was kind of just a pushover, right? Like that's how it always is. And then the end game monsters are always going to be a little slightly challenging, and then in DLC they bring in like the super challenging monsters. That's been the cookie cutter way of Monster Hunter for years. And I think that this game is stayed true to it, so that doesn't really bother me at all. The Ardian weapons. I think the Ardian weapons are a really cool idea, but I feel like they're kind of missing something. I don't know what it is they're missing, but I just feel like they're missing something. And maybe that something will be, you know, will be something that we get in a DLC, but I just think that they're kind of lackluster. Honestly, I think the crafting is kind of basic. I think the roles. I wish there were more roles, maybe, or like more combinations of roles that you could get when you reinforce them. But other than that, they're kind of just there. They're okay. They're not like this game breaking thing, or like this super insane thing in the game, but they're okay. Let me think. Okay, getting into the big, core parts of the game. Number one, the open world, absolutely phenomenal. Makes the game feel amazing to play. Way better than Rise, which I had a huge problem with, and even better than World, which I think is the best Monster Hunter game that in the franchise. And I think that this game will eventually surpass World, if it hasn't really already. I think the open world is absolutely phenomenal. You can go do whatever you want in the world. It's seamless. There's it's wonderful. Really, it really feels alive. The monsters are running around outside of your camps and your tents and everything. I think it's a great feel to the game. It feels amazing. It's a big plus. If they don't have an open world, system in the next Monster Hunter, it'll be a ginormous downgrade to me. The next really big kind of core mechanic that they marketed were the two weapons. Now, if I have to be honest, unless I accidentally changed it, I still have the regular weapon, right, as my secondary. That's just how it is. I don't use my second weapon at all because, like I said earlier in the video, I want to make a build in as best as it can be and as optimized as it can be, right? And so that means that it's going to be very difficult to make a build that is the perfectly optimized version of that build for two different weapons at the exact same time. I know that a lot of weapons use the same skills and you can make hybrid builds for two different ones. But I would be very surprised if two weapons used the exact same, you know, pieces of equipment, charms, mantles, and gym setup, and you could seamlessly swap between them, and there was zero performance downgrade. Now I know that that's not the majority of people. Like I said earlier, I get it. So a lot of people love the two weapon system. I don't, right? It's kind of pointless to me. I haven't used it once. And I don't plan on using it, truly, right? If I wanted to use a different weapon, I would just make a different loadout, and that's the one that I would take into the fight, right? Into the monster hunt. The monster hunts don't last long enough for me, and they're not hard enough to where I have ever thought to myself, "Oh, I wish I had this weapon for this scenario." But that's just me personally. Hopefully that they can expand upon it. Maybe if there was something like loadout swapping instead of just weapon swapping, that would be really cool. But the whole hybrid build for two different weapons just doesn't it doesn't do anything for me. It really doesn't add anything to the game. I still play the game exactly like I did when we only had one weapon, which is just with one weapon. And I think that's it. I think the game, I think that's every mechanic that I would want to go after, or go over. I think, just like a disclaimer again, my opinion really doesn't matter on this subject. This is really just for, if you want to hear some random guy's opinion on the game, here it is. And you can take it with a grain of salt. You can take it with all the salt, or the whole grain if you want to, or not at all. It's really up to you. You can be mad at the comments. That's fine. We can talk about it. Actually leave the thing that you disagree with in the comments and the thing that you agree with the most in the comments, and we can see who agree. Which take was the hottest and which one was the coldest. But if you like the video, you can like, comment, and subscribe. I'm live every day on twitch.tv/klitsxo. Later.